Okay, we're back. We're live. We're ThinkTech on Thursday here at the 1 o'clock block with Alan Young of Armor Concept, and he joins us by Skype. Hi, Alan.
How you doing, Jay? Good to have. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I love it. Can you point your machine so it's your head is a little higher on it? Just bring your machine, the top of your machine close. That's it. Looks perfect. Okay, great.
All right.
Now we can see you better. Anyway, what city are you in? I don't even know.
We are in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right. I was there once. I was there for the music. And
Great place to be.
Stayed at the old Opry House Hotel. Is that the one?
Yeah, the Opryland.
Yeah, Opryland. Yeah, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And I actually there for evaluating a piece of software. There was a software company that my law firm was looking at, and I actually flew to Nashville so I could see it. And we adopted it, and we used it. In fact, we're still using it now for something like 30 years.
Yeah, Nashville's a big tech city. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here to talk to you today about safety in America. In fact, that's the title of our show, Safety in America. And you're in the safety business. So tell us the nature of the business at Armor Concept.
I am. So a number of years we were renovating properties, and as fate would have it, I guess, people kept kicking in the doors on the properties that we were renovating. Mm-hmm. And we went out, tried everything, bought an alarm. That meant to get up in the middle of the night and go fill out our police report. Didn't really stop anybody from breaking in. Tried everything else, nothing worked. So we ended up developing a number of things that would actually stop people from physically breaking into homes.
Tell us about them.
So without going into a whole lot of detail, basically what we do is we try to make sure that people can't get in the most often used point of entry for burglary, which is the door. Mm-hmm. Right? Again, people are going to kick into a door 90% of the time. They're going to break into a house. 85% of all break-ins are through a door. It takes about 5 seconds to kick in a door.
And the front door, even the front door.
Even the front door. If you have a deadbolt, it'll take you about 10 seconds, and most average 12-year-olds can kick in a door. It's just not very difficult to do.
No, it's scary, though.
It really is. So what we do is we've developed a number of solutions. You can see it on our website, armorconcepts.com. Mm-hmm. Anyone that wants to take a look now. And basically what it is it's reinforcements for the frame and all the weak points on the door. Mm-hmm. So I think most of the Lowe's out in Hawaii even have it. And you can pick it up for $69, install it in about half an hour. And what it does, it reinforces the jamb, the lock side of the jamb, the lock area on the door, and the hinges. So it basically turns your wooden frame door into a steel frame door. And you can do it yourself in about 30 minutes. And you really don't see it, which is something else. A lot of people will put those hideous security gates on their front door.
Yeah.
If you have a nice house, you don't want to do that.
No.
And our concept is, well, one, it doesn't need to cost a lot. Again, $69. I mean, there's a lot of other things you'll spend $69 on that aren't gonna protect your family. And it just shouldn't. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Now we've been focusing. I've been focusing in the front door, but there's always a back door or possibly a side door or who knows how many other entry points. What do you do for those?
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, we have solutions that will fit pretty much any kind of door. We have solutions for screen doors, sliding glass doors, and there's pretty simple tips on the website for securing windows.
Windows, because windows, in Hawaii, I think a lot of break-ins are through windows. Sometimes they're through jalousies. However, jalousie windows are pretty weak. And what the intruder does is he pulls out the slats on the jalousie windows and climbs in that way. There are little locking snaps, clips that make it harder to do that. But at the end of the day, if you want to get through a jalousie window, it's not hard. Now, does the Armor Concept, protective devices, do they work on windows that can be pulled out that way?
Yeah, no, we do not have something for a jalousie window. But the one thing that I tell everyone about security, it's really a several-step process. One, the first thing you want to do is try to make sure that they don't come up to your house in the first place.
Yes.
All right. So make sure that it looks like your home. Keep your house well lit. If it's at night, and if it's during the day, make sure that, trees, shrubs, whatever, make sure that there's a clean line of sight between you and the house next door, you and your neighbor's house. So if someone does come up and try to break in, they're going to be seen.
Well, let me ask you some questions about things that have crossed my mind. It's really refreshing to talk to you about this, because it's not the kind of thing that's going to happen every day, but it's the kind of thing that could happen any day. And so you might as well spend a little thought, a little time, a little money to protecting your house and your family from who knows what. The other thing is that we live in a very civilized society, except that there are things that eat away at the corners of it. And what could be a socially, a socially organized community could be less organized in a minute because of one event. Who knows what? Weather, even blackout. Who knows what? So you have to be prepared for that, and it's a whole my gut is it's a combination of things. So I wanted to ask you about some of the things. So, for example, these days, I don't know if you sell this, but these days you can go online and you can buy wireless, alarms that go by batteries and that don't have to be connected by wire at all. Don't have to be powered because they have batteries that will tell you when they're depleted. And you can put them all around your house, just like the old systems, except it's wireless. And it will call some central station, could be anywhere in the world, but probably it would be on mainland U.S. And it could call you, and it could take all kinds of programmed instruction about what to do, if this combination of events happens with that combination. Where are we in the continuum of technology about that? What's your thought? What's your advice about whether that, is what do we call it, an important part of the array of protections?
Yeah. My view of alarms, just in general, I'm a big proponent of alarm systems, but people need to understand what an alarm system is for. But whenever I do an interview, whenever I talk to people, I try to make sure that people understand that an alarm tells you that someone's broken into your house, right? I mean, an alarm does not stop someone from breaking into your house.
Right.
So that's the first thing that people need to understand. Right. Now, as far as the technology for alarms, yeah, it's come a long way. I mean, I think within the next 5 years, there's going to be a big shift, and there's already starting to be a shift from the old wired, someone comes out to your house and spends all day putting an alarm system in, to you doing it yourself, or someone taking a few minutes to put in the different sensors and so forth. And a lot of the stuff will be done in the cloud. So just like everything computer-wise, people used to have servers all through their offices, and now just about nobody I know actually has a server in their office. Yeah, everything's done through the cloud. Yeah. So I would see the alarm industry moving the same way. And when you go to the shows, that's a lot of what you see. Camera technology has gotten a whole lot better. So, if you're into surveillance, if you want to keep an eye on what's going on outside of your house, you can buy a do-it-yourself camera just the same way. Put it up yourself, link it to your computer, and save all the information in the cloud. So
but what I hear you saying is that the do-it-yourself thing, at I don't know, Costco or Kmart, will be is or will soon be just as good as anything that you could get from a reputable contractor, because the technology is advanced and because these things are made with a certain robust build quality. So that you can do it yourself. But one thing I would get to, I don't know if you agree with that, but one thing I would get to is this: if you are relying on the cloud or the internet, and the internet goes down, you're not relying on anything. It's gone.
Very true. The
old day, was connected by telephone, and that there was certain reliability. There still is a certain reliability in telephones. So as we move into relying on the internet, it's kind of a risky business, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it depends on what kind of internet technology you're talking about. I mean, when you think about, if you're talking about wired internet technology, something where you need the power then yeah, I mean, if someone cuts, just as with your phone line, if someone cuts the cord, then you're out of business. But a lot of the technology is going through cellular, so it doesn't have the same kind of limitations. Now, if there's a hurricane or something like that, yeah, you'll have issues. But with cellular, just like people have their alarms hooked up through cellular now, that's the way I see it going.
Would you take a cell phone technology ahead of an internet technology in terms of reliability?
You know, at this very moment, probably not. But in the years ahead, probably. I think if you look at what's happened even in the last 3 years with the difference between what you see with a wired internet connection and what you'd see with a cell phone connection, it's astronomical. I mean, what's happened in the last 3 years even. So if you scan forward 3 years, I think the speed is going to continue to increase. The reliability is going to continue to increase. I mean, it's rare that you even drop a call nowadays. I mean, 5 years ago, that was the norm. So, yeah, I mean, I think where technology is going, I think a lot of the stuff that we're doing is going to be via cell phone, and even most internet searches now are done via cell phones, not desktops.
Sure.
So,
you know, this reminds me of a device I saw recently. I mean, it's worth discussing. It was a backpack filled with a rack of cell phones, and the functionality of this was it was built by Israelis, by the way. They're so creative, those people. It was built so that the cell phones each were coordinated. It was a coordinated cell phone channel, if you will, and it relayed high definition video signals from a big camera through this backpack to the main station. And it was as good as any cable could be. And there were enough cell phones in that backpack to give you a completely reliable connection. And it suggests to me, and of course, these are probably cell phones that you could go buy right now at Verizon. But it suggests to me that the future is in devices that can switch between cell and wireless, devices that are industrial cell phones, if you wish, and devices that can be made bigger or coordinated with many of them doing a specific dedicated task. I don't know if that's in the in the offing right now, but it strikes me that we'll be doing a lot more communication, as you say, with cell phones, and maybe cell phones that do wireless or cell phone, depending on which signal is better.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, you look back 5 years and you think about what using the internet on your phone was like. It was a completely different experience. Now, the internet browsing on my phone is almost as fast as doing it on my laptop or my desktop in my office. So yeah, I mean the gap between wireless, cellular, whatever this technology is, Wi-Fi and cellular is definitely closing.
Yeah,
and it makes for possibilities, endless for the kinds of things that you can do remotely now.
Yeah, and the other thought about that in terms of the technology seems to me is that we have come in the past 5 years a long way in terms of the I want to call it the warning algorithms. In other words, if the sensors in your house, however they got there, pick up a certain pattern, then the software will interpret that pattern, and based on whatever the parameters are, it will take specific actions. And the actions are getting more sophisticated as we go forward. And I really like that, because I think software can handle more problems than you could ever shake a stick at. And I think that's this in the next 5 years, just as you say, we'll be into another generation of software that will be much smarter in terms of analyzing the violations, and much smarter in terms of reaching the people who have to know about this, taking the action that has to be taken. I mean, and I just footnote that by saying that if the thing is going to blindly call the police, and the police have a system, as they do here in Honolulu, about punishing you for a false alarm, fining you and making you go to what they call alarm school, boy, that's a punishment. then I would prefer to have the action more sophisticated so that doesn't happen. So what do you think will happen with the software?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, what's going to happen in the future? But whenever I think about the future, I always think about the last, again, 5 to 10 years. And again, if you look at most alarm systems, the way they were installed, 5, 10 years ago, it was all wired. Now it's very rare to have any wires in your system. Right? You'll have a central deck, and you'll have the wireless sensors around the house. Right. So as you look at that, and as you look 5 years from now, again, with the camera technology getting better, with the cellular technology, I think, you're going to see less and less systems that are run through a phone line. I don't even have a phone in my house anymore. I mean, so it's
you're going the right direction for sure.
That's the way that things are going. Mm-hmm. So I fully expect the technology for the alarms to get better. The do-it-yourself market, absolutely, but the professional market. I mean, there's companies that are very good at doing what they do. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me take a quick break, Alan. This is Alan Young, Armor Concept in Nashville, Tennessee. Here we are on ThinkTech Thursday in the 122 block here in Hawaii, talking about safety in America, and Alan is an expert in that area. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here with Alan Young of Armor Concept in Nashville, Tennessee. We're here on ThinkTech Thursday talking about safety in America. Alan, we talked briefly during the break about the police, and the technology is moving ahead. The whole concept about home safety is moving ahead. Are the police moving ahead?
Well, the one thing that people need to understand about the police and alarm systems, it's not the police's job to respond to an alarm system. I mean, alarm companies are private companies. When your alarm goes off, it's going to a private company. They're the ones that are making the money from it. Mm-hmm. The police are responding because there could be a crime there. So that's why there's been a whole big movement with police forces to penalize people that have continual false alarms, because it's taking up their revenue. It's costing taxpayers money for something that a private company is making money for. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the role of police and how they're going to continue to move forward as the technology moves forward, at the end of the day, the technology, whatever the technology is with the alarm system, really doesn't matter, right? I mean, from the standpoint of the police, it's, I get a call, I've got to go, see if there's an issue there. The only thing that might make that different is if there's surveillance attached to the camera, and they can actually look at a camera and see, okay, there's a burglary going on. With satellite technology, they could probably, hit a GPS, look at the camera, and see if there's any kind of burglary going on around the house. So you look at, Person of Interest and all those TV shows.
I love that show. Yeah.
That's you want to say that that's far fetched and that's crazy, but if you look at a lot of the technology that we use today, 15, 20 years ago, we would have looked at that and said, that's crazy, that'll never happen. I don't think that technology is all that far off, to be honest with you.
Well, in residential neighborhoods, they say that in London, there's, hundreds of thousands of cameras. New York is close behind. All the major cities in the world are buying cameras up, like hotcakes. But where the cameras are not going is they're not going in residential neighborhoods. And although people are, getting, alarm systems most of those alarm systems, in my experience, do not include cameras. So, the question, I guess, is where do cameras fit these days? You can do a lot with a camera. You can verify that there's something really going wrong here, and maybe you can postpone taking action until you've done that verification. You can see your whole block. And you can learn, and this is really, I wanted to ask you about this too, you can learn if there's a problem before you come home and try to tackle an unknown set of circumstances by yourself without backup, which is, some advice I'd like to ask you about. So where do cameras fit, and how do they help you avoid a confrontation?
Well, again, when I think about security, I always think about prevention, right? I don't think about alerting you that there's already been a break-in. Right. Well, once someone breaks into your house, it's too late. Whether you're home or whether you're away, if they're in and the alarm goes off, they're going to grab what they want and they're going to leave. Mm-hmm. If you're home, they're going to be in your house in 10 seconds. And then what are you going to do? I always hear, "Oh, I got a gun," and that's great. But if someone kicks in your door, someone's in your house in 10 seconds. Do you have time to reach it? Do you have time to do the things to make the decision of how you're going to defend yourself? No, you don't. So that's the first thing that I always think about when I think about home security is do what you can do to keep someone out or to stop them from coming in. So to your point, as it relates to cameras, one, someone sees a camera, they're probably a little less likely to try to break in. Is that a definite? No.
Indeed, you can buy a camera that's not a camera. A lot of places sell cameras that aren't cameras. They just look like cameras. That always leaves me a little nervous because I think that if somebody figured it out, they'd be a little ticked at me and be all the more aggressive in the burglary.
Yeah, but you don't know. I mean, just like with an alarm system, the big deterrent is the noise, right?
Yes.
That burglar has no way of knowing whether your alarm system is hooked up or not.
Yes.
Right. So what it does is, if an alarm goes off, average police response time in most areas is 20 minutes or a little bit more, 20 minutes or more to a home alarm. Mm-hmm. So a burglar hears an alarm, they say, okay, instead of taking my time and doing what I need to do, I'm going to be in and out of here in 5 minutes, which is what most of them do. And, there's no way I'm going to get caught because it's very rare that a policeman is going to get there within that period of time. It's not a knock on the police. Like I said, they just have other things to do. So by the time they get there, generally 20 minutes or more have passed. So as you look at the whole thing with a camera, it's kind of the same thing. Is someone going to call your bluff and say, okay, I'm not going to, I don't care. I'm going to bet that this is a fake camera. Or are they going to go next door where they don't have a fake camera? Right. I mean, anytime I think about security, and again, when I do these talks about security, I always use the analogy of if you and I are being chased by a dog, I don't need to be faster than the dog.
That's a wonderful analogy, actually. It's like competition. You want to look like you're better protected than your neighbor, then you're fine.
That's right. Make your house a harder target. Someone does try to come in, make it so 5 kicks that they can't get in, they'll go somewhere else. But if they see the alarm system sign on your lawn and not your neighbor's lawn, even if you don't have an alarm system, are they going to take the chance? Maybe, but why rob this house where you stand a better chance of getting caught than the one right across the street where it's dark? There's no lights, there's trees up, it's an easy target.
Yeah.
So that's really the key. You're not trying to make a fortress. You're not trying to spend a lot of money. You can spend very little money and make your house much more secure than you probably even think about.
What about, this is largely, so much is psychology in the world today. I know one accountant who calls himself a psychiatric accountant because he gives therapy to all his clientele. And I suppose in every business there's an element of psychology. And the piece I wanted to ask you about is the siren, the alarm. So here we have a fellow who is about to break in. The equipment has spotted him. and it triggers an alarm, and the alarm has got 127 decibels on it, and it's going to shock him. It's going to surprise him. How important is that? Will he go to the next house then? Or do I need 200 decibels? What do I need?
You just need noise. You just need noise. You need something to make noise to tell them, okay, I have to limit the amount of time that I'm here. Right? I mean, that's once they've broken in, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to limit the amount of time that they stay in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So again, whether it's a dog, right? You have a dog, a vicious dog. Is that going to deter them? Maybe.
Yeah.
Not definitely, but maybe. And if they hear it, then, again, let me go somewhere where I'm probably not going to get bit by a dog.
Yeah. Well, what about those alarm systems where it says, we see you, we know you're here, we're taking pictures of you, we're going to call your mother, and it tries to have a conversation, with the guy. Is this effective?
I am much more a proponent of the loud, scary, alert your neighbor's alarm system, right? Well, what a thief does not want to get caught. Right? At all costs, they don't want to get caught. They'd rather not take anything than get caught. Typically, again, they hear an alarm, they know they have time to get in, get whatever they can grab, and get out. And if that's all they do, then fine. The problem that I had, because what else? The other thing that the loud alarm does is it alerts your neighbors,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So hopefully, people start to get desensitized to home alarms because there's so many false alarms. But hopefully, you have a good neighbor. Your alarm goes off. At least they come to their window and see if something's going on, right?
Yes. Well, do you ascribe to the notion that if you're going to take a trip, or in the ordinary course, you have a reasonable relationship with your neighbor, that you would put your neighbor in charge to say that if you hear the alarm, would you please do something? I'm going to go on a trip now. If you see a funny-looking car parked in front of my house, would you please, take a look at that? Would you intercede as necessary? I mean, how far do you push that? How useful is that? Or is that something that's going to bite you?
You know what? It's a very good idea to get to know your neighbors. I mean, the closer your community is, the harder it is for a thief to come in and do something because someone's watching. Right? One of the hard things about living in multifamily, living in an apartment, is you often don't know your neighbors. Right? So I'm much less likely to go to someone who lives next door to me in an apartment and say, hey, I'm leaving town. You want to watch my stuff for me, than it is to go, next door to your friend or the guy that you've been living next to for a number of years in your neighborhood and say, look, I'm going away, watch after my house. And it's very important to do that because, in the event that newspapers get left behind, in the event that, something happens where it will be a signal that you're not home, mail, have someone pick that stuff up. Have someone, if something looks suspicious, be on the lookout. But don't tell the world. I mean, one of the things
yes.
extremely important that I tell everybody is, don't let the world know when you're going on vacation.
Like Facebook would not be appropriate.
It's the biggest mistake, and it's the dumbest thing that people do. They get ready to go on vacation and they post it on Facebook, and now 500 people know that your house is empty. Great, thank you.
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to make yourself a target is to post all of your business about where you're going on Facebook. And just as important, don't post the pictures while you're on vacation. Right? Wait till you get home to post all your vacation
yes,
pictures.
It's a telltale, isn't it? All the vacation pictures. What a way to advertise you're gone.
That's right.
Well, I do, just to take a moment and tell our listeners, this is Alan Young of Armor Concept in Nashville, Tennessee. You're listening to ThinkTech Thursday, and we're talking about safety in America, on the mainland, also here in Hawaii. But it keeps popping up in my head, Alan, about what about the moment of truth? You know, you've layered all these systems. You put a brace around the door. You've put an alarm system in. You programmed it carefully. You've put a siren on there. You put cameras outside. You told your neighbors and created a certain amount of comfort, you know, by neighborhood awareness. But ultimately, there you are, 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's a stranger in your bedroom, and he scares the hell out of you. And maybe you have a gun, but it's not available right then. Even if you were going to take the move of trying to use it, because that sounds like it would be pretty dangerous. What do you do as you wake up to the sound of somebody in your bedroom?
Wow, that's a question that is very, very hard to answer. Mm-hmm. And my first answer to that is make sure that you've done whatever you can to stop them from getting into your bedroom.
Yes.
Right. I mean, the one reason that I talk to people about making sure that you secure your doors, right? Mm-hmm. Because again, if someone kicks in your door and is in your house in 10 seconds, most alarm systems, depending on if you're home or not, are not even going to activate for 30 seconds, right? You usually have some time to get in, you know, hit your code and do whatever. So by the time the alarm even goes off, someone could be in your bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. If someone's on the outside kicking, chances are they might wake you up, first of all, so you can find your gun, whatever else you need to protect yourself before they're able to get in another way, if they're able to get in at all, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the real important thing, because otherwise, again, if someone's in your house in 10 seconds, regardless of whether you have an alarm, what are you going to do? And that's a very, very good question. I'm not sure that there is really an answer to that. The answer is to give yourself enough time so that you don't wake up with someone standing over you in your bedroom.
Yeah, because at that point your options are very limited and his options are enormous.
That's right. You don't have a whole lot of options at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And if your alarm's going off, you know, they can get you to turn it off. So, you know, do what you can to give yourself that extra time.
You know, some of these alarms have panic buttons, you know, little red button on the thing, and it bypasses all the standard, you know, software, and it signals your alarm company that there's a crisis happening and somebody is in your bedroom. And how useful is that? You know, how should I see that as an option?
I mean, I think it's a great option to have, but again, alarm systems are for after the fact.
Yeah.
Right. So even though it may bypass and go, I'm not sure if it will go directly to the police station, but even if it does, they're still going to have to dispatch someone. They're still going to have to get someone there. You don't know what else is going on. And the first reaction of police to a home alarm system, for better or for worse, is that it's a false alarm.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd rather have a false alarm than a situation.
Yeah, I mean that's just, you know, because 90% of all home alarms, I think 95% are all false alarms. Mm. So it's like boy who cried wolf. But at some point, it's like, okay, another false alarm, and then every now and then you get there's an actual burglary. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, another reason why the length of time has increased. And I don't know if Hawaii is a verification state, right? So when in a lot of states, when an alarm goes off, the company has to call you, wait for you to answer before they can actually call the police, right? So
yeah, sometimes you're not available. That becomes problematic.
Exactly. So it just adds time to the process. And again, whatever you can do, my philosophy on home security is whatever you can do to keep them out mm-hmm. of your house. Make sure you give yourself enough time. I'm a gun supporter. I'm fine with people having guns, but if someone's in your house in that short period of time, you don't have time to make the decision. And as for or against guns as you may be, regardless of whether you think you're ready for it, if you ever are in a situation where you are forced to shoot someone in your own house, whether or not you're justified, it's going to change your life.
True, on many levels, personal level and maybe legal level and who knows what.
Yeah.
One last question before we close is Hawaii is a relatively low crime area. May not be that way forever, but for now our stats are pretty good. We don't have all that much violent crime. We have far more burglaries than we do robberies. We have a certain number of sneak thief type robberies, but it's not usually not violent. So all that considered and all that we've been talking about, do you have any special advice for people here about how to conceive of what program they need, what steps they have to take to achieve safety, not in America in general, but safety in Hawaii?
One of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years in particular is crime, especially property crime, has gone from being an urban, quote unquote, bad area issue to being an issue that everyone's worried about. 5 years ago, I would have never gotten a request from Hawaii to do a show on crime. That is just not something that would have happened. But I get the request from rural Iowa and Montana and all these places where people probably didn't lock their doors 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And what's happening is crime, just the face of crime has changed. It's gone from being an urban issue to being an everybody issue, and a lot of it has to do with, in my opinion, it's methamphetamine.
Yeah.
It's a big cause of that.
Yeah.
It's less of an urban drug than it is a suburban and rural drug.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. Just the economy.
Yeah.
I mean, people get desperate. They go and they steal things, and it's people are realizing that people in nicer areas have better stuff to steal. So what I would tell you is just because you live in a nice area doesn't mean that you don't need to be concerned about security. And you can take the easy steps that I talked about. Securing your doors. Again, Easy Armor. Go to Lowe's. Check out our website, armorconcepts.com. And we have some other tips there. But just make the simple steps. It doesn't need to be I'm going to create a fortress around my house. I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on the most intricate alarm system. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money. It's just doing easy things, securing your doors, keeping your house well lit, making it look like you're home, not telling people you're on vacation, and just, getting with your neighbors, getting with a few close neighbors saying, I'm going out of town, staying in touch with your neighbors, getting to know your neighbors.
Okay, Alan, we got to run. We got another show in 4 minutes. Thank you for being patient at the outset. I really appreciate that. This is Alan Young, Armor Concept in Nashville, Tennessee, who talks to people around the country on security in America, safety in America, and indeed safety in Hawaii. Thank you so much, Alan Young.
Appreciate it, Jay. Thank you.
Aloha.